If you were given a financial ultimatum after proposing to a young lady, what would you do? Let's talk about it. Welcome back, or welcome to Uncle ABL. And in today's video, we're talking about the government's involvement with marriage and also financial incentives. Now, this is going to be a deep topic spurred on by a video that I came across. The young lady was explaining why she had to turn down a marriage proposal. Basically, before we get into the clip, she's like, hey, I need you to pay X amount of money or be able to pay X amount of money per month, or we cannot get married. We're not going to be able to do it. Now, her reasoning made sense a little bit, but at the same time, her reasoning shouldn't have even been there. The reasoning was a thing that the government incentivized. Without the government incentive, there wouldn't have been a, well, maybe if you do X, Y, and Z, we can get married. Or if they do get married, there's also the incentive to divorce. For the woman, I'm able to get a big bag of money. I'm able to get alimony. I'm able to get X, Y, and Z. The government is way too involved with marriage to the point where people make decisions based on what the government is allowing them to do. Now, before I go too far into it, let's go ahead and check out the actual clip. Of course, I will pause it at certain points to give my 2 cents, but without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Okay, so I was just sitting here thinking about like the last serious relationship I was in. So I've told y'all I'm a widow, and the last serious relationship I was in, he mentioned marriage, right? He started talking about wanting to marry me, and he started actually making plans, like talking how our future would be if we married each other. And one day we had that conversation, and he told me, you know, his intentions were to marry me and what he wanted in a wife, right? He expects this, he expects that, he expects this. He was very traditional, very strict.
I mean, so far so good. You guys are together. So obviously you like him. He likes you. He's doing the right thing, being a stand-up good guy, talking about marriage and a life together and being very vocal about what he wants, expectations. So far so good, right? Let's keep on going.
And I told him what I expected in a husband was this was one of the main things. I received income and benefits from my late spouse, who was a veteran. He was a hardworking man. He was a veteran, right? I told him that in the event that I get married, I would need my spouse to be able to replace that income and those benefits. When I tell y'all the remainder of that relationship, that man never brought up marriage again. I think a lot of people need to have those conversations, and they need to think about that before they jump into anything. I think it is wise to talk about that. What happens to these benefits and what happens? I'm not going to like downgrade my lifestyle, not for me or my child, but he was expecting me to just work more to compensate for it. Are you out of your mind? I'm not going to get into numbers, but it's our health care, and let's say all of my monthly bills are covered with that income before I even have to touch the money I make from work. I wish the hell I would give that all up in the name of love.
Well, there you have it. So there's so much here. First of all, I'm not trying to say it's her fault. I'm not trying to attack her. I mean, she was widowed. The guy died. He was in the military. He might have died overseas. I'm not sure how he died, but he died. So it's not her fault that he died. And it's not her fault that she's getting benefits. That's part of it. So I understand. But see, you know, the way the benefits work is if you get remarried, then the benefits go away. That's how that works. So when you are a guy trying to marry her, now you have to be able to replace those benefits. You got to be able to bring in that kind of income at least. This is beyond just what could happen in the event of a divorce with alimony and division of assets and garnishing wages, things of that nature. This is beyond that. This is, hey, I have income right now that I depend on from myself and my child. So if you want to marry me, that goes away. So now you got to pay. Now, her situation is understandable because she was widowed. However, there are other women who get alimony and it's the same thing going on. You see, Dr. Dre, I think maybe, or another guy, I can't remember who it is, but these big money guys, celebrities, and sometimes regular guys, they might be high earners, but they're not celebrities. Doctor or something like that, a high paid profession, but not a celebrity. Sometimes these guys have to give their wife lifetime alimony, or here's the key thing, until they get remarried. So what happens? Well, there's an incentive by the government. The incentive is to never get married again. They'll be with a guy for 20, 30 years, live with him the whole 9 yards, but they never get married, because when they do that, then the money goes away. They'll keep draining this guy of all his resources after the divorce to continue getting that money while they're with another guy. And sometimes they'll try to go through courts and do lawsuits while at the same time they're with somebody else, been with them 20 years. They'll pull an Oprah Stedman and have that kind of situation going on while they are still benefiting from their previous husband. Now, in her case, I understand she's a widow, military wife, may the guy rest in peace, and prayers out to them. But there's too many other women who just get alimony and refuse to get remarried so they're able to keep getting the benefits. This is part of the reason why I say the government being involved in marriage is a bad thing. They incentivize women to get married. They incentivize the alimony process. They incentivize so many negative things. And they also kind of prevent families from being able to form or stay together. You see, there was a barrier to entry right there. Hey, if I get married, I don't keep my benefits anymore. So now we can't be together unless you're able to pay that kind of money. Okay. So, and I'm not sure how it works. If she gets divorced, do her benefits reactivate? Is that how it goes? Or if you get remarried, are your benefits cut for life? So now it's just a bad situation. Overall, as I close, I want to say this. Marriage can be great when it works. It could be a beautiful thing. And I'm envious of those who have marriages that work. I'm very envious of you guys, and I wish nothing but the best. But when marriage does not work, when it goes wrong, when things fall apart, that's when it's really bad. I've heard some horror stories, and I've heard some horror stories about marriage going the wrong way. And far too often, it's the government's influence in this institution that causes things to fall apart. And not just a man breaking up with a woman and vice versa. You're talking about kids being involved, whole families affected, mama, papa, aunts, uncles. Everybody's affected because of this whole thing that goes on. And then the man, if he wants to go forward with another woman, well, I still got to pay my ex this alimony every month because she's not remarried. And then there could be the back and forth court action, and the new person got to deal with that. Is the government being involved? And the same thing with the woman who's receiving the money. If a new guy wants to come into her life, hey, check it out. You want to get married? How about not? Because if I do, I lose my benefits. So it's just a bad thing overall. I think the best thing would be to have the government get out of marriage, be more of a civil union type situation, the same way that the LGBTs had at first. No more government involved. I don't know. Something's got to give, because 50% divorce rate, all these horror stories, there's a problem. And if we're not trying to fix it, we're just, I guess, content with the problem existing. And that's pretty much all I got. Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.